You here, Teresa?
Hi, yes, I'm Rick. Good morning. Adam, can you hear me?
Hey, Chris, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave it here for that. If you split it up. That's scroll back. Page.
Yes, we're on.
Okay, so let's call the Central Board of Architectural Review hearing of, I think this is the 14th, or is this 15th?
The 16th?
16th, I've lost a lot of time, sorry folks. August 16th hearing to order. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board regarding an item that is not on today's agenda?
If you are online and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand or dial *6. And we do not have any public comment.
Okay, agenda status report.
We do not have any changes to the agenda.
Okay, well, I'd just like to take this quick minute to say that item number 1, which was a site visit at 8 a.m., got off to a rocky start, time-wise, and so we were behind. It wasn't through us trying to blow anybody off, but we're half an hour behind because we completed the site visit. It was fulsome, so. Okay, so minutes of June 14th, 2024. Anybody have any changes? I don't.
I'll make the motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Informational briefings. Anything, all right. Member recusals?
Number two, here.
Okay. And staff update, Nicole, do you have anything you need to tell us about?
Good morning. Just, let's see, coming up on August 28th at the County Planning Commission is the Harwood appeal of the Channel Islands YMCA alterations. I think that's primarily to their operational procedures, but that is in the Santa Ynez area. And then that's all I have. Thank you.
Channel Islands YMCA is getting altered.
They're painting it. They're gonna paint it. We gotta just see the colors of that before we do it, but
So,
it's a
That's
lot of
fine.
moth.
It's a lot of mod.
oh. All right, so,
This is item 1.
so item number 1 was the site visit as mentioned. We completed that item. Item number 2, agenda, 22 bar 00178 John Sebastian Winery, which is our site visit. Is here today. The comments from last time, please add dimensions of development on all plans, add height on all elevations, including following the roof line as it increases and decreases. Project skylines from both directions on the public road, Highway 246. Prevent skylighting of the structures, reduce the building height. It is also possible, in conjunction with reducing building height, to push the building slightly lower in elevation. Simply pushing the building into the ground is not sufficient. Overall building height needs to be reduced. 4, the project is overlit. Exercise restraint in the amount of lighting to what is strictly necessary. West elevation does not appear to need any lighting as there are no project elements over there. Reduce the lighting of the interior courtyard and parking area. Eliminate lighting of the building facade unless associated with required fixtures. 5, seriously concerned about the continued erosion in the Arroyo and how to mitigate it. Please present an approach to mitigation when you return. 6, show where any excess cut will be deposited. 7, reconsider the parking layout and quantity of paving on the back side of this building in conjunction with any proposed changes. Right. So this is the project. Do we have anybody here today? Who's presenting?
Bethany, sorry, this
Yeah.
is Nicole.
Yeah.
I just want to, I think you know this already, but the planner is not able to be here today, but she did provide a really extensive memo for the project, and I have some notes from her as well. So I'll do my best to answer questions from the staff perspective if needed. Thank you.
Okay, if you want, do you want to highlight anything in the memo? I can open it up, put it on screen for public.
I do have some notes from the planner. Yeah, so she goes over the timeline, applicable policies, and then she wanted to let the board know that staff, she and her supervisor did do a site visit to take a look at the current iteration of story poles, and that there's still a minor amount of skylining of the roof line, but based on the current design and the story poles, staff feels that the applicant has lowered it as much as is feasible, and staff feels they could make the policy consistency analysis findings as necessary. So that's basically it.
Okay, well, I think that last one was a big one, because that means that we can look at it and have faith that the skylining is not going to be an issue that would cause a redesign, relocation of our review. So that's good to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so you want to step up to the.
Hi. Good morning, members of the board. I'm Pam with representing Taylor Lombardo Architects.
Okay, I'm just gonna tell you right now, that thing in the middle of the table is the microphone. In the middle of the table here,
Oh,
okay? You need to project,
okay.
because no one online can hear you. And that goes for everybody else. When you get up and make public comment or anything else, that's your microphone. So talk to Al. All right,
Yeah.
take it away.
All right, so first, I just wanted to point out that the owner and one of the partners of our firm may be joining us virtually as well, so they might have some comments to add. But I would like to start the presentation by describing how we arrived at the current building site that we all saw this morning. So this is a 1,000-acre lot, which sounds really big, but most of the parcel's terrain involves steeply sloped hillsides, native trees, and existing chaparrals. In addition, there's a large portion of the site that's currently planted for vineyards. We already looked closely at 4 different locations to build the winery before arriving at the current location. And all of the locations were dispersed along the south side of the property in order to work with the existing entrances from the highway and minimize the road length and required turnouts to get to the winery. Between the 4 locations, we were challenged with visual impacts from Highway 246, significant grade drops that would make it difficult to comply with the hillside ridgeline requirements, area limitation, or flat area limitation that would make it challenging to include the appropriate amount of parking and leach field, process waste, water pond, stormwater detention basin. And also we would have to remove some existing vineyards and trees in certain locations. And the site is also within the California tiger salamander easement with 2 potential tiger salamander ponds. So those were our challenges. So the current building location pushed the building into a higher elevation of the property from the last, or from the original location. So it's a little bit further from the highway and it's surrounded by a larger flat area for development, as we all saw. And we made this adjustment based on CBAR's recommendation from the first story pool site review. And though the hillside ridgeline became a non-issue at this current location, I think the issue was that the building was too tall, still too tall, and was skylining from a particular view heading west on 246. And per CBAR and planning development's recommendation from our second story pole site review, we studied the building height and made significant reductions in order to reduce the skyline as much as possible without sacrificing the gravity flow wine process capabilities of the facility. If you reference sheet A 3.03,
Okay. This one, this set,
in the architectural set, sheet A 3.03.
so you see they all say JSW CBAR resubmittal. Please note, we can only see the first part of the tab, so if you name it all the same thing, it makes it really difficult. So we got this one, got the landscape, that looks like landscape.
Yeah.
That one. This one's gonna be it. Okay, so here's your location, which sheet?
A 3.03, please.
All right. 3.03, that's what. A,
Oh, can we go one more down?
you got it?
Yeah. So in the sheet, you'll see that the previous building height and elevation is shown in red. And what we did here includes reducing the plate height in the fermentation room 2 feet 6 inches. This is the higher gable roof that you see, and it drops the roof height down 10 foot 8 inches. We also changed the roof slope from an 8 and 12 to a 6 and 12 roof slope. That's how we were able to bring that down, as well as bringing the pad down 4 feet at both levels, the fermentation level and the lower tasting room level. The tasting room gable, which is the secondary gable on this view, it had its plate height reduced 1 foot 6 inches. And the roof was also made shallower here, changing from a 10 and 12 roof slope to an 8 and 12 roof slope. In addition, we removed there was an architectural element, clear story windows above the tasting room that we removed just to make the building appear as massive as well. And then the chimney was also reduced by 11 foot 8 inches, or 11 foot 4 inches.
Okay. And thank you, those are nice, large numbers. Thank you.
Great, I'm glad. So we prepared an exhibit 5 to show the difference between the previous story poles that you guys saw on March of this year versus the story poles that are up right now. And highlighted in yellow. So on the left was from March, you can see the landscape still green. And then on the right is from earlier this week, where we show the story poles are much lower. So we hope that these revisions constitute as significant changes for the project. And we want to point out that we've also designed the building to be silhouetted. It's a silhouetted form against the rural backdrop. So we certainly don't want this building to be a beacon from the highway or from public view. But we'd like it to blend in with the landscape, which I feel like proportionally, after being on site this morning, it looks pretty good. And that's all I have. Thanks for consideration.
Can you hold on a second? Why don't you address the erosion We'll talk about the erosion control. It was just, we'll just go through the comments. So you got dimensions, this is the skylining. P&D, it's their finding, they've indicated that they feel they can make it. So we're left with, the lighting, the continued erosion of the arroyo, deposition of cut, and the parking layout. So if you could address those, that'd be great.
I'd like to defer the erosion to David Swain.
Sure, you can come up.
And then,
And then the landscape will take care of the lighting and the parking layout. Is that how you want to do it, or?
yeah, as far as lighting for the building, we have located them pretty much at every entrance from the building, just for access. They're pretty minimally laid out. They're all dark sky compliant fixtures. And they're all pointing down.
Do you have a lighting plan that you could put
Yeah.
back in?
It's on sheet A6.01 and A6.2.
You? 101. Don't sit down, Dave.
So there was a question about the west facing light fixtures. The west in this sheet is at the top, and we are only showing a few light fixtures that are by the doorway.
Just by the doors.
Yeah,
So were there light fixtures that you were say along here?
I don't believe so. That's landscape.
Yeah, so these two here, for example, that's for this door.
That's correct.
Okay,
And then,
these are your fixtures.
yes.
And so there's nothing, I'm sorry. Oh, so you've still got quite a lot going on in the trellis in here.
That's the south facing, those are all pointing down.
Yep. Reduce lighting of interior courtyard and parking area. Eliminate lighting of the building facade unless associated with required fixtures.
Do you have an example of what the lights in the courtyard are gonna look like?
Yes. It's really 94.
Can you blow that up, Bethany,
Yep,
please?
sorry. I lost it. So total is- Yeah.
It's CF4 where it says trellis. It's a cylinder that points down.
Okay, thanks, Bethany.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so I think my question was there any, did you reduce the lighting in that tasting room terrace courtyard? For the comment, number 4.
The lighting, no, we did not.
Okay.
We did not, because this is kind of the output from that light fixture is pretty minimal and,
That's fine, you answered the question.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so parking layout, quantity of paving on the backside of the building in conjunction with any proposed changes. You want to talk about that, or?
yeah, I'll give it to David for that, or Scott with Arcadia.
Okay, who's next?
Hi, I'm Scott Dominguez, Arcadia Studio. Yeah, so mainly focusing on the one update that we did would be the parking to the north, which is mostly for employee, about 32 spaces, as well as bus parking and turnaround. You can see the red dashed line to indicate where existing was, how far north it went. We brought it in about 15 to 20 feet, and closer to 20 feet, closer to the building there. So reduced the overall sort of gradient on that backside. kept the same amount of spacing and provided a hammerhead turnaround as opposed to a sort of roundabout turnaround for vehicles once they come up there, includes for buses and fire truck access as well. So that's the main difference in this design, is just reducing that parking up to the north.
You said the parking was mainly for personnel?
Personnel, staff, overflow from the main parking.
Help with that.
No lighting in that parking area?
We do have some lighting, mainly just path lights to eliminate any sort of edges as you make your way towards that back area.
And that's what the blue dots,
Yeah, the blue dots are just path lights.
Okay.
and then what about the red dots?
The red dots are just like small ground surface, like little hockey pucks that shoot just across the ground plane to again eliminate just the surface there as people are driving towards that back wall.
Okay.
And then this hot pink over here on the west.
Yeah, so those would be wall lights for the staircase on that end. And those again have a cover shield that are shooting down towards the steps for safety.
Okay, so the steps are here and the lights are here.
Yeah, you can, if you zoom in a little bit, that's kind of small. So there's yellow lights for the steps that are low lights, and then those pink ones turn into path lights for that walkway, because that's on the surface.
Okay, and that's what's going on out here.
Exactly.
And then you have lights in the planters as well.
Yeah, lights and planners, yeah.
Okay, is there any lighting in the parking lot below?
Don't think so, it's on the next sheet, given that's overflow parking.
That looks like it.
Yeah, no lights on there.
David, you want to talk about the erosion control?
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Yes, we had consulted with the staff after the comments from the VAR about concern about the oil that's going in here. I have noticed over the last couple of years, there has been a little bit of creep of it, mainly because of the massive rains that we've been having, and all the roads are doing it. So we did consult with our soils engineer, Ron Church, and you guys seen his work before, with him and Rick Romero. And what they did is they amended our soils report, and it has an analysis section was placed on, hopefully you've got a copy to the staff, that we provided to the staff with their recommendations. So in talking, they don't feel it's any kind of impact to the winery. It's well beyond the setbacks. The road also was adjusted to be farther away from it. But we have been talking with the agricultural operational staff about looking at whether it's advisable for the landowner to stabilize it. So there is talk about doing that as part of the agricultural operations, especially if we're going to be starting to plant vineyard in the area. So what I would assume they're going to be doing, even though this project has been cited to be away from any impact on it, it may be as part of the ranch operations advantageous to go ahead and stabilize that. So there are other consultations with soils engineers and their recommendations on how to do that, whether they're going to lay it back, fill it in. It's interesting in looking at the analysis, they could find no evidence of the spring on that area. So it's kind of, we're all kind of like, where did that come from? So there's something going on in terms of subsurface flows, but the soils engineers has analyzed it. And, it's fine for this project, but we are looking at the potential of stabilization just for the betterment of the entire parcel. So any questions?
That's my line. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, public comment? Thank you.
That was one of my easy ones.
If you're online and wish to speak on an item, please raise your hand.
We don't have anybody here.
I don't have anybody here. We do not have any public comment.
Okay, anyone want, Chris, you want to start or?
No, nothing to say. As long as it's the ridge line, that's the biggest one, but I think the staff.
All right, I will go.
More or less.
It's very nice to have clarity on the skylining finding that staff is making. And they indicated, staff member, they're comfortable with as it is.
They thumbs up.
Yep, and they reduced the height, which was something that we
Yeah.
asked them to do as well, see on the elevations. So as far as the skylighting, the building height, I'm comfortable. They've got great dimensions and nice big numbers, thank you, old eyes. It sounds like staff will continue to keep an eye on the erosion of the road. It's not going to be part of this project since it's a little further away. Not too concerned about where the excess cut will be deposited. I think that'll be taken into account when we do it for I appreciated the consideration given to the parking area. Thank you very much. My main concern at this point is simply lighting. I am still not very pleased with this west side of the building. It seems to me that, like, for example, for this doorways, these two doorways, you could satisfy that with one light. There's no reason to have two. And I think there's a good way to economize in that area. The other concern I have is, it's not shown here, landscape, is it just seems like there's a lot of lighting here that is going to, now the step lighting, I totally get, absolutely positively you need it. I'm assuming you might even have a little wall, I haven't seen detail, but if you have a wall, you've got that little down light, it's not even gonna be seen as a glow.
Yeah.
I'm not real concerned about it. And the other lighting is over here at the, up here near the terrace, on that west side. And then as you see that, but that fuchsia colored paint, it seems awfully, it seems like a lot of light. I know you've got it down on the ground, which is preferable to the building, but it seems like you could really get that reduced. The other thing I'm concerned about is the lighting on the terrace. What happens is you light that terrace really well, you know, and now you have to light everything else because it's bright like daylight out there. If you scale it back, you can minimally light the rest of the surfaces and people's eyes are fine with it. It's a difference in contrast and intensity. And so I'm still really concerned about, and I may be the only one, but I'm still really concerned about the fact that inside terrace is really lit up. And then that means that you have to extend the lighting out here because I'm coming from that terrace and now I can't see anything because my eyes are, you know, totally closed down. I'm not so concerned about the driveway and this, although I would like to see that reduced. I think that could be done a little better. I don't think we need a landing strip. But that's a personal preference and I'm willing to let that go. But the courtyard and lighting on this west side are my main concerns right now. So Chris, did you have anything you wanted to?
Did they present siding options and roofing materials, or are we there yet?
Do you have your materials?
Not that we did not bring it, but we have the materials listed on the cover sheet. These are up to one.
Yep. They have talked about materials before. So we're. Second. The cover sheet was the one that didn't want to load. There you go.
Yeah, oh, sorry, G00. So we're proposing a mixture of stone veneer, local stone veneer facade with wood siding, stained wood siding, and also stucco. We have a dark bronze metal roof. And our doors and windows are dark bronze anodized.
I guess my only point would be no stucco. I'd like to see all of that wood, so it even disappears even more into the hill, but otherwise I like the color palette and especially that looks great.
I actually don't have a problem with it as is, so,
Okay.
but I mean, the stucco is about the color that it looks like, so.
Well, you're gonna see it for miles, so.
I know,
I'm trying to,
I know.
I'm trying to mitigate that.
Yeah.
Portion of the building, so if you could. Take a look at that, that'd be nice.
Well, if anybody else in comments second?
haven't heard anything from Andrew.
Let's take a poll here.
Andrew, you
I think
wanna-
it's implemented in the correct place, if you're prioritizing that, excuse me, hierarchy of materials, it's in the appropriate place. You know, we'll see joint locations if we need it later on, and that might be an issue, but for now, I think schematically it's up right now.
I don't have a problem with that.
Andrew, do you have any
Nothing personal.
comments?
I would like to just add that, you know, I have tracked down the history of this project, and I think for where it's gotten to, taken appropriate measures to reduce the height and site impacts and all of that. I think if you make the roof any shallower, it's no longer a barn typology, so we don't want to push you on that anymore. And I think, yeah, I've taken appropriate measures to reduce the visual impact.
Alan?
I have nothing to add, I have, other than the fact that I will tag on to what you're saying with the lighting. And I'll leave it to you with staff to figure that out. You've done yeoman's work at changing this project. And I have no doubt that you'll look into that too when time comes.
And that's something possibly photometric figure out. And so we understand the numbers as opposed to the feeling.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. If you do a photometric study that takes into account the landscape and this lighting, you know, your building lighting, and put them together. We went deep into lighting for a different project, also happened to be a winery, that was kind of the reverse situation. It was down in a hole, but it was visible all the way around. So we'd be very interested. That might cut short a lot of this discussion about how much is too much.
Even just for that courtyard, if that's.
If you're gonna do it, I just do it all. It'll really help, because then, even if you do just the courtyard and that, if you're doing the courtyard here and this area here, I would at least do this side of the building and the associated landscape lighting here. But again, you know, my main comment is this courtyard and this western edge. So I think what you do is you start to, it's a concatenation of areas, they just keep growing. So I just hit the nail on the head and bite the bullet, do it all, and get it done. And you're one stop and done. You come in, we can go, okay, or change this, and no more discussion. That's the way to handle it. Okay, anything else?
Those are my comments.
How stuck are you on stucco?
I'll capitulate to what Andrew had to say, and if it comes back, if it's mitigated.
Well, you can see from these are the elevations here. You can see, this is the wood, this is stone, this is the stucco on the inside there. Got wood. And this is the terrace.
So is that part of the stucco for directional purposes facing north,
It's right here
that whole panel? So it's
Here?
facing east,
and west.
east and west.
And, because it's the sides of it, and then this is the terrace down here, that view here. That's stone, and Pam, tell me when I go wrong, okay?
Okay.
And what's up here, back behind,
That's actually,
corrugated metal?
yes.
And then, that's a comparison, and then this is the corrugated metal, this is the other side, it's west side, so here's that stucco panel. Wood, stone, wood,
I would like to see it mitigated by 50% personally,
Yeah,
halfway through.
I don't have a problem with it. It seems appropriate, I'm tagging on with what Andrew said, for vernacular, is that it seems appropriate in, hierarchy of the building facade.
And if you book a structure with two darker elements and you have lighter in between, I feel like it's less of a visual impact in general.
Versus a
As a
Wayne's,
whole
versus a
versus
Wayne's
dark,
coating.
dark.
No, just, I would say a Wayne's coating portion of it, 50% down. No?
Yeah, you could consider some sort of water table.
I think it's lipstick on paper. Not to insult your building.
As long as the color stays as dark as possible, I'm trying to make it.
Okay, well then-
Be invisible.
Pam, can we reach a happy medium and that you will take a look at that stucco color and make it maybe a little bit darker? Just kind of consider
Yeah,
that.
it's meant to complement the wood siding. So we'll definitely,
Invisible.
Oh, well.
No, I just meant
No,
the
just
whole-
darkening the stucco, I
Yeah.
think is the comment.
okay.
It's in the right, you know, the hue is, you're in the right area, general area, I think. But darker is usually, I mean, I think you could go a little darker and it would still recede, like
Yeah, that's received as the right.
what we're expecting. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, how do we want to see this return? Nicole, gonna put you on the spot.
Sure.
Okay, so what's the next step from the land use design? Are they going to the planning commission or a different, decision maker?
Yes, it's a development plan, so they would be going to the planning commission, so I believe what we'd be looking for from you today is basically comments saying if you feel appropriate that they could return for preliminary, and then they would proceed to the planning commission and come back to you after planning commission action.
I'd like you to show us the lighting. And then, yes, everything else is ready to go to planning commission as far as I'm concerned. I'm just really still concerned about the lighting, and I've seen too many times where you'll adjust it and you adjust it a little bit, you take it to planning commission, they say, okay, they give it their blessing, it comes back to us, and now we're locked in and it's too much.
I will say, Bethany, that for going to planning commission, the mass bulk and scale, is expected not to change, but things like lighting are not locked in at the planning commission level. And so you can change that at preliminary and final.
I understand. Okay. All right, so yes, I think that's about where I am with the project, so. One more visit, show us the lighting, you might throw in your, materials board, you might, just round out your package so that everything you show us is what it goes into the record as if we're giving our blessing and say, yes, take this to the planning commission, you have everything in the package. And so the planning commission winds up seeing exactly what we saw the last time, even if we just flip through the pages. It gives a nice complete package and it just keeps a nice record.
Okay.
So nobody says, oh, I just pulled a fast one. So keep it all good, okay? Thank you very much. All right, so item number 3, sorry, 24 bar 55.
Wait, I'm Bethany,
Yes?
how do you want them to return?
One more conceptual visit with the lighting, please.
Okay, thank you. Can I
But the
ask?
rest of the project is ready for preliminary.
Okay, can I ask?
You thought
You're on.
Okay, thank you. Bethany, I did have one more question. On the lighting, I have that the lighting on the west side of the building should be reduced. And then I have landscape lighting on a certain side of the building should be reduced. Are those both on the west side or?
Both of those are on the west side. On the west side of the building, I think they could be more economical with the required lighting at doors. Architecturally, that's the mounted fixtures on the building. And then I think the landscape lighting, specifically the path on the west side, I'm really having a hard time with that. And then back to the architectural lighting, it would be the south, the terrace, and pergola, that lighting, I really think should be hung down a notch. And there was a suggestion that and I don't know if this needs to be in the minutes, but they might want to do, kind of a photometric study. Because that might answer a lot of questions.
They were finished up.
Yeah.
They're adding a second.
Okay. Okay. We have somebody here for number 3? Yes. The first row. The first row. Okay, so the comments from last time, proposed site layout clarifies production access as well as avoids previous tree impacts. The look of the proposed buildings is a minimalistic interpretation of an agrarian forms and is not as successful as the previous design in this location. Landscaping, especially compared to the building, is much more complex than the previous design. Interested to see how the level of complexity is carried forward as the design evolves. South-facing patio lacks any shaded areas and will be exceptionally uncomfortable during summer. Also consider shade for the southeast side of the building. Site visit is required. Storage pools very likely required during the visit. Large number of paving materials. We'll be interested to see how ADA access is maintained as the design moves forward. Stabilized DG is not ADA accessible. 7, include conceptual lighting plans for building and landscape. 8, show how bus parking will work, turning circles, parking areas, etc. 9, consider alternative to glass railings as they seem to be more office building in character. 10, please include the gate design at the next submittal. Okay. So, if you could tackle that lengthy little shopping list.
Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Scott, and we're the family owners of the property. And to give a little background, since we weren't here last time, about some of the questions that you just mentioned. My wife and I spent 40 years of our career as architects and interior designers all around North America, Europe, and Asia for some of the top hospitality and guest services companies in operation. And what's unique about that experience is in our retirement, we saw this opportunity at the Highway 101 and 154 intersection as this great chance, along with what's happened by Bears coming into Maddie's Tavern and sort of elevating the hospitality of this wine touring region, is to create this real gateway experience right when you come off the highway. And the great welcome mat opportunity that this project serves to help drive repeat tourism and elevate the experiences of the wine tasting environment around here. So we live in Santa Barbara County. We have 2 other vineyards that support this project. So we're embedded in having this be successful. And one of the things about the landscaping being complex and how that's very different from the original submittal is that it's extremely intentional that through this sculpture garden, the topiary, the children's discovery garden, and these other sort of walking environments, we seek to have this be differential to the other wine tasting experiences and have it be something where people either stop after a long highway drive to get to this region and take a break, or take a break before they get on the highway to go home and have a bit of time to stretch their legs and create memorable experiences with their family besides just the tasting. So we hope to show you more of that at preliminary. I know we have them kind of conceptually diagrammed for now, but we really expect this to be something that people linger and have the ability to tell their friends and family that this is something you definitely have to come see, and you have to stop in this region if you're interested in wine, because we have great things. So now we'll bring up our son, Ethan, who's going to talk about a few of the things we've done with the building to address the concerns about its relation to the previous entitlement.
Yes. Morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. I'm going to ask that we jump to page 22 of the set, that's sheet A101, please. Yeah, kind of far scrolling down.
A101?
Yes, A101, it should be page 22. And these are kind of the first of our kind of new hand renderings that we completed. So addressing really comment B that the design did not really encompass enough agrarian themes. It was too contemporary, too modern. And we really took that to heart, and we went back to the drawing board and spent a lot of kind of long hours and nights figuring out how do we achieve the farm agrarian look with still some contemporary and modernized elements. And I think what we came up with is pretty successful and conducive to that. So a few things I want to point out that's different. Primarily, you know, similar to our original design, we had a lot of stone elements, as you can see in that top rendering, and kind of the front entry area. We've changed the wood siding back to horizontal, which is similar to the original entitled design, and we'll do a little comparative look in a little bit. But we've got that horizontal wood siding. We've got a kind of softer color. We've gone with kind of a charcoal colored metal roof. So not quite as dark as the kind of black dark bronze we had previously. And another big difference is in all of the windows, we've incorporated the colonial window grille. Previously, before, it was all contemporary and kind of just a flat sheet of glass, but now we have the colonial style, which was also one of the original design elements in the original entitled design package. So looking at that top rendering, you can see a lot of those elements. Right below it, we have kind of the wine tasting. This is the southern area of the building, and again, a lot of those similar elements: horizontal wood siding, lots of stone, those colonial window grills, and addressing comment D, which was the lack of shade. We've incorporated, you know, one of the most popular shade elements that a lot of wineries use, like Sunstone, is massive umbrellas. So you can see kind of on the right-hand side of that lower rendering, in blue, we have shade umbrellas on that southeastern side. And in case it wasn't quite clear in our first presentation, on that sort of two-story veranda on the left, that is on the first floor is 54 feet by 14 feet of covered shaded veranda area. So that whole lower area is shaded underneath, and on the top, we plan to use umbrellas again to address the shade, which again is a similar practice employed by wineries like Sunstone and other wineries in the region. A couple modern elements we've changed the staircase, which was, you know, kind of symmetrical with being a very, you know, kind of rectangular straight staircase into a curved staircase, and addressing comment I, which was the glass handrail. We've changed all the handrails to steel, similar in finish to the rest of the building. So no more glass handrails, it's all steel. And we've got a few other modern elements like the steel awnings that are over the doors. Those are kind of the black awnings, which we'll kind of take a closer look. If we could jump to the next page, please, which is A102. If possible, you know, you may want to zoom in if you want, but if you can see it, okay, it's fine. I'm going to start in the upper right corner, which is the east elevation. That's elevation 03. Similar again, lots of horizontal wood siding, colonial windows, the steel awnings, and another shade device that we've kind of employed is in the Corten steel fireplace. We've actually extended a shade structure built out of it, so that's kind of a nice little design element. And similarly, we are employing lots of umbrellas as the main shade structure. In elevation 02, which is the south elevation, again, now that it's a little clear, I want to point out the curved staircase. That's a new change. Again, no glass on the handrail, all steel, which was a comment. And once again, emphasizing that shaded area below the veranda there. That's 750 square feet of shaded area. Similarly, in elevation 01, which is the north elevation or the front of the building, you can see a little clear, all that wood siding again, the steel awnings over the doors, which is, a modern implement that we've added, as well as really clearly those colonial windows. Now, to do a kind of final comparison with the original entitled design, I'm going to ask that you jump to page 28, which is A201, please. And I want to point out a couple things here. So the design that's on the top was the original entitled, 2011 design, and the design below is our new design. And you can see that there's a lot of similar elements. We've really, especially with the horizontal wood siding, and the use of stone and the colonial windows, we've really brought it back to what the original design that was approved. And while still adding a lot of kind of modernized elements. So similarly, if you jump to the next page, A202, page 29, this is going to show the rear of the building. And again, as you can see, a lot of similar elements. We've really, we haven't changed anything in the building massing. This is purely playing with facades, and we've really brought it back to what the original agrarian entitled design was. Now I'm going to turn it over to Michael, who's going to talk about some of the more technical sides and updates of the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. Madam Chair, member of the board, my name is Michael Holliday. We're the architects with DMHA for the project. Ethan's already talked about the exterior design, so if we could go to sheet A103, please. I just want to talk about the changes that have been made to the project to address sort of the updated code requirements. On the top there is the original entitled plan, and on the bottom is the lower plan. I don't need to go into all the details, but just to give you an overall summary, we had to add a family accessible restroom to the first floor. We had to expand the restrooms on the first and second floor to address ADA requirements, which weren't included in that original submittal. Stair widths have been increased to meet egress requirements. We had to enlarge the elevator cab to be stretcher capable for code. And overall, we just sort of kind of worked on the plan to show a more functional, we've got a wine consultant that's working on the interior. So right now, we think we've sort of flushed through all the functional elements on the interior. And we can go to sheet A104, please. It shows the second floor, and the real purpose of today and what we hope we can come out of here today with is that our project is substantially conforming to the original project so that we can move forward with the planning process. So we know we need to come back for preliminary, but hopefully the board will find that we are substantially conforming to the original design intent. So there's the comparative floor plans. Again, pretty much the exact same footprint. We're actually less square footage than the original entitled plan. Next slide, please, is 105. This is the third floor element, and they didn't really have it too well defined on the top, but we've actually kind of like a little wine club, third floor. Working out the elevator, had to get the stairs and the accessibility, but essentially it's the same basic volumetrics of what was originally entitled. The last sheet, A106, please, is the next sheet. And this is something that was raised. We've spent quite a bit of time with planning to document how much of the project is below the heights and the 50% threshold, which we're underneath that threshold. So that's sort of a finding this board needs to make. And now we have it documented. Last time we were here, we didn't have this documented. So from our perspective, we tried to address every issue that you guys would be concerned with as far as substantial conformity with the original design. So that's our hope that the board can find, and that hopefully we can come back, hear comments, and then take these to heart and be able to come back to you with a more refined preliminary package next month or whatever. So we're here to answer any questions, but that's my presentation. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Matt from Wallace Group to talk about the landscape modifications.
Thank you, Michael, and good morning. So as Michael mentioned, I'm Matt with Wallace Group, and we'll be talking a little bit about the landscape. So to go back to LA 101, please. For this one, just wanted to touch on a few things. So last time there's some discussion about this setback, we did respect that 100-foot setback and really looked at, in doing that, simplifying some of these amenities over here. I know that was a comment last time that some of those amenities looked a little too dense or maybe too involved, but we did simplify those by keeping really the heart and nature of this facility. As Scott and Ethan mentioned, that is really a vision of the owner and the family there. So, we wanted to make sure we incorporate that while minimizing that space there. The other thing to note is on the south side of the building, there was some discussion about this, but we did again taking to heart that comment about shade at that area there. In doing so, we brought in some trees. We have various shade trees in there, and then also some shade devices, as Ethan mentioned. So, those could be seasonal. I know in some cases, having some sun there, maybe in the winter, might be welcome. So you have that option as well. But really look at having a lot of shade in that back area. All right, if you can go to the next sheet, please. LA 102. So just to touch on the gate here, the entrance gate, one of the things that we were really looking for there is to provide an elegant and welcoming statement that speaks to the facility. So we're looking at bringing in some of those materials, quartz and steel, and some of those elements really to have that sense of arrival and again, have an elegant gesture that is welcoming to the experience there. All right, we'll jump to sheet 21 of the set, which is a few beyond this. And we can come back to some of these sheets during the Q&A. But just to touch on some of the lighting here, just as an overview, all of these fixtures are dark sky compliant, but they really are looking at, again, adding into this procession into the building by having lights out in the parking lot, having pedestrian lights, different bollard lights as you go into the space there. We are looking at different type of accent lighting, moon lighting on a lot of the trees there, a lot of the different features there, the art features and whatnot. So again, just trying to illuminate and bring to life some of these elements, respecting the nearby nature of the area as well. All right, if we can jump to EX 100, which is a series of some of the vehicular movements on the site there. And I think it's, yeah, we've got here with us here. Perfect, thank you so much. So this one here is showing the 40-foot bus turning radius. It kind of shows how that would move through the site here and various areas along with the parking there. Next sheet, please. So this one is showing a semi truck on the northern access road and how they can make their way into this back area and back out. Next sheet, please. So this one's showing a fire truck and some of the maneuvers there to get around the site for safety reasons. And then this last one, 103, is showing a minibus and those movements there, again, getting to a parking space and moving back out. So with that, we'll open up for Q&A at the end, but that touches on some of the landscape updates.
Michael, did you have lighting on the building that you wanted to talk about? Did you want to talk about exterior lighting at this time?
The lighting submittal that we included by Kate, you can go back to that sheet if you would, please. Probably primarily the landscape lighting is what we addressed. We have there's some on the, there's shows where the lighting is around the building. As far as a fixture schedule, if you want to zoom in on the legend there.
The next page. The next page.
Yeah, here we go. This is the legend shows the different fixtures. So if you want to kind of zoom in on this a little bit, we can kind of walk you through. Trying to go with things that are going to tie in with you. It's sort of agrarian barn, San Ynez Valley barn type structures. If you want to, with a little bit of a modern twist, because we think lighting is so important. But these are all the fixtures. We can kind of walk through them individually if you want.
I was asking specifically about on your elevations, where you're placing lighting and how that works with the proposed landscape lighting.
Yeah, if you want to, I don't know that we have the lighting.
That's okay. That's what I was asking. That's fine.
You know, specific comment last time was about the landscaping and the entrance, and so people were thinking. the
It's
trees
fine.
are up there, so
I just wanted to make
yeah,
sure I didn't miss it in the set.
No problem, yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or more? Clarification?
No.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Just to show my ignorance, and you probably touched on it before, colonial style?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
If you go to the very last sheet of the
This
set.
kind of windows.
So yeah, here you have. Right.
This is the grill dividers.
Divided lines?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
The divided windows.
all right. I thought that's what it meant, but since I wasn't, I never heard colonial
Yeah.
before, I thought I should check.
And I guess I have a quick general question. Okay, what, here's the original entitled and the new one. What was the reasoning to change the building and other than to just, I know it had to be updated for accessibility and current standards,
I
but
think what we found when we surveyed the whole state and how trends are changing,
Thank you.
We spent a long time after we were considering purchasing this property and toured around the conditions of the wineries throughout the state, and there's a definite pivot point right now in the tourism of wine establishments from a group that is getting quite old and then a new group that's kind of emerging into the tourism. And what that group responds higher to are the more contemporary flying wall facilities like Presqu'île that have these big open indoor and outdoor things became a lot more important after COVID. So what we're trying to do by having some of these more modern elements is at least providing a transition point between those generations and not trying to stay completely embedded in the agrarian farmhouse look, because it's just not as appealing to the next generation of tourism customers. So that was primarily the reason. We didn't really have a problem with it, other than our research has shown that you need to bring this a little bit more into the 21st century to attract that next generation of wine tourists.
great, thank you.
Okay, and,
I had one more
Yep,
question.
go for it.
I just, the gate image, could we go back to that? I just want to make sure if there was just one or.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah, it could be in the landscape.
getting there.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Scroll. Yep, almost, there we go.
There.
Yes.
It takes it a hot minute to get into there.
Yeah, so it's that, doing pretty good.
Yes, so to the left where it's kind of in, if you want, we can go up one more sheet, to look at the overall, plan to show you exactly where this gate is. But yeah, so that in the upper right corner, right there, thank you, Matt, that is where that particular entry gate is.
So it's about what, 40, 50 feet off the road?
Yes, yeah, it's pretty far separated off the road.
And that's basically like 6 foot, 5 foot.
Yeah, the gate is a 6 foot, 6 foot gate. I think 5 foot, yeah, it's pretty, it's not too huge in height.
16 foot.
In terms of height. Yeah, not too huge in terms of height, but it's a 16-foot wide gate.
Sure.
And I don't know who you want to, maybe you can do this, but, I had a quick question about this figure.
Yeah, for the roofing plan, I don't know.
So what is the orange meant to indicate? Did I misunderstand or did I hear correctly? And you said that this is in excess of the 35 foot?
No, that was, we are under the threshold. It wasn't documented in the last bill package. So what we try to do is give the board everything you guys need to make that finding today, hopefully, because the county planning process is pretty much cleared the way for that. So we have, supportive comments that this project is substantially conforming to the original one, aside from whatever design input you
Because you
had.
did raise it. It's tall.
Yes, we did. That's why
Yeah.
overall, the go look at some of this was a exhibit that we didn't have last time. If you want to go back and look at the elevations.
Well, if you could just explain, what is the orange indicating? It
It's-
seems to say that it exceeds the 35-foot height limit.
The documentation was that we can't, there's a 50% threshold that you're not allowed to exceed, and the plan documents, and if you want to zoom in on some of the specifics up there that were, I think it's written up in the top upper left-hand corner. Well, actually, zoom in on the notes right here, you can talk, this will sort of talk about.
You want the notes or the other notes?
Go up to the notes right here.
Michael, excuse me, just to clarify for my pea brain, the orange exceeds 35 feet.
Right, yeah.
That's what
Portion
I
of the-
wanted you to say. Thank you.
Yes,
That
that's
that
what
note right there clarifies, so
Because
we're,
I can't see those.
yeah, I know, it's very
Sorry.
microscopic on, at this field, but it's 34% and the threshold is 50%, and that wasn't clear last time, so.
Okay,
No.
right. So
Did that answer?
that is, the orange is representative of where the 35-foot height limit
Is broken.
is exceeded.
Right.
All right.
And it tapers because that's the.
Because it goes.
Survey,
Because
yeah,
the grade,
yeah,
yeah, it's from
yeah.
existing grade, so the grade's tapering off.
Yeah,
And, you can see it in the elevations, the comparative elevations. Am I going the wrong way?
I think it's lower.
There we go. So the blue line is where your proposed is.
Yeah, so the red line is the maximum height limit, which you can see that we meet that requirement. And then the blue line shows where the new project, Mass Vulcan Scale, compares to the original submittal. And this was just intended to sort of address the substantial conformity determination focus, which is really what
Okay.
we're asking for today.
Just wanted to make sure I was understanding correctly. All right. We done? Can we move to public comment? Any more questions? All right. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak regarding this item?
If you're online and wish to speak on an item, please raise your hand or dial *6. We do not have anybody in the audience and we do not have anybody online, so no public comment.
Okay. Who wants to start? You want to go first?
I'll start, then we can
Thank
go
you.
around. I just had a couple comments, to your point of trying to come into the 21st century. I guess, I mean, I didn't mind the tower that much on the first and middle, because it really felt like it was part of the overall mass. It's very subtle, but your roof, the full roof exceeds the ridge line. And on the first one, it's dropped a bit below. And I do think that makes a huge difference in the perception of, is this part of a more integrated structure, or it feels a little Tuscan, like planted on Tuscan Tower when it exceeds that ridge line.
I have a very quick answer for that.
Well, this is not, we're done with that. So what I'm getting now is my comments from our board. So we're just gonna let her
Sure.
and everybody go. Thank you.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
And I believe if you could look at that, I would support your percentage of building exceeding the height limit. I just don't think that actually adds to the overall architectural character that you're trying to go for. The gate, I mean, I don't really have any problem with the gate, except that on the image, the sort of lights on top, when you don't, because of night sky, you can't have the bulb exposed. They end up looking kind of 70s or something, which I'm not sure is in character with what you're trying to go with here. And then I think the overall landscape plan is, I love gardens that have lots of things to do, so I don't have any problem with that. I just wonder, looking at some other projects that have really set the bar high for the landscape. It's a lot to take on in this area because we are very limited in terms of skilled staff and trying to retain enough skilled gardeners to make this at the level that I know is in your mind's eye. You know, hats off to you, but it's really sad to me to go back to some other projects we've seen here and see where the quality of the landscape at this point in time, and it's not that great. So I'd rather have simple, that you can have 6 guys instead of 20 guys, because you're not gonna find 20 guys. Just telling you. But anyway, I think it's a really interesting idea, and I think the devil is in the details.
No. Can I go see the front of the building again, the color rendering?
The color, that would be the very first page, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was the,
There you
oh, there's a bay.
And shrink it down a bit.
This is that's the entrance there, in the middle, right?
The bottom is the main entrance, that's the front of this.
So the middle image is actually the
Rear of
The
the.
back.
Yes.
the northwest facing portion of the building.
South side.
Yeah, that faces out into the vineyard, and that's where the event lawn is.
So that's what that walkway is doing, right? Is it providing a focal point or a vista for people to look at the vineyard?
That upper, yes, yeah.
Yes,
that upper-
that's-
Swoops around.
Yes.
And this big portion on the left, which is,
The production.
Yeah, that's.
is that stucco once again? Or
Yes.
It's just stucco.
That's the insulated metal panel protection building with plastic cladding over the top.
Plaster over it. I would concur with what Puck said about how that certainly does feel. The original one just felt like it sat as part of the building, as a cohesive building. This looks like it was sort of slapped on. I understand that there's 3 stories. I understand that portion of it. However, I think it was something I would look at again.
Denise?
Could you go, I agree with Puck and Chris, could you go to the landscape plan? It was just the basic site plan. landscape plan. I was struck that, and it's lovely, I was just struck that it just seems like there's not that many trees, and just kind of thinking about what Puck is talking about. Trees add so much value and control the environment and the heat and make the space more usable. And they take up so much space, where a lot of shrubs and perennials and all of that just take up a lot of time too. So I think the site would benefit from more shade again still. And so more trees, and I think you will be challenged with having unfortunately, a complicated landscape maintained. But the trees will always allow for use for the walkways and the parking areas. And if there's any way in the world that you could break up that expanse of that drop off to the west for your delivery trucks, it seemed like when I was looking at the turnarounds, you might be able to have a planter in the middle if someone really works on that somehow. I don't know how many square feet of, I think that's aggregate there. But if there's any way that you could introduce some shade in that space, I think it would benefit the drivers and the delivery people quite a bit. Keep the dust down.
Couple things, Puck said that the devil's in the details, and I think that's very true for the elevational quality of the project. I understand that you're going for more of a transitional language, and there's nothing invalid about that, but I would urge you to think about what you're transitioning between. I'm actually a little impressed at just how many styles are represented here that you go across the elevations. You've got kind of a prairie style thing going on with the gate and the page right version of, which elevation is that? Of the south elevation. You've got a modern farmhouse vernacular that's still hanging around. Like Puck was saying, there's almost that Tuscan quality about the tower, which I was thinking the same thing. And then that chimney on the east elevation is pretty postmodern. The page right portion of the east elevation is also something that's modern, but modern in the sense that it almost looks like a newer townhouse in Echo Park or something like that. That being said, I don't think you're too far off from being able to rationally congeal these different things together. I would just try to think about, you know, like I said earlier, what are you transitioning between and what are you taking cues from in certain places? Instead of looking at these as portions of the building, I'd like to see things coalesce around a broader vision architecturally. That being said, I feel like we're trending in the right direction in terms of providing more greenery and shade on that southern portion and eastern portion of the building. And I think generally that reverence for sticking within the box of the previous submission is showing through on a size, bulk, and scale note. I just really am getting hung up on the eclecticism of the different portions of the building.
Ellen?
I think you guys have nailed everything and more than I would say. I agree. One thing I looked at is the area that's to the right. It does look like we're just, I wouldn't say we're slapped on. It doesn't quite, my eye go with the rest of the building. But other than that, I'm okay. You guys have covered everything.
Okay. And to that note, that's a good point. Your blue line is coming down like this, but it's disingenuously omitting this little add-on on the back. And I know that's production area, but it is a part of your structure. So I think you should include it when you do your blue line. Just for,
Yeah.
I mean, because you did include it here. I think you just missed it, is what I'm saying. Because it's included on this
Yeah.
end. But it just got missed on that one.
It's just a draft.
Yeah. That's just a drafting. I would concur. I think Andrew did a nice summation about talking about the architecture and it does seem a little eclectically at odds with itself. But I would tend to agree, and I think everybody else has said many of the same things. I do think that as you continue to work on that architecture and just kind of getting it to gel together, I think you should, I'm probably gonna be on about the shade and we're gonna be, I think, based on Nice's comments and some of the other people's comments here on the board, I think moving forward, we're really going to be looking at how you are accomplishing that shade because there is, it's really difficult. I understand that, you know, you've got your umbrellas and things, but, it starts to become difficult actually to, navigate. You know, if you have a field of umbrellas out in this area, right?
Not to mention the wind factor.
And the wind, right. In the summer, 3 o'clock. So,
It's all teachy.
yeah. So it's one of those things, I think you should really pay attention to this, because I personally, and I think most of the board is really going to be looking at how you accomplish it, because, I mean, you've got some really open areas and then not a lot of trees, you know, and you've got just dozens of trees. And yet you've got this fairly robust space of trees that are on your more northern facade, and it's like, I think you need to, I wouldn't say flip it, because you're doing two very different things. I understand what's going on in the north, but I think you really need to look at the placement and how you are doing that. We didn't really talk about paving, but we're gonna be keeping an eye on your ADA and all that kind of stuff as you move forward. I think you'll continue as long as the plan is complex. I think the planting plan is complex, the landscape plan is complex. I think you're gonna continue to kind of hear little comments about, you know, what is this gonna look like in 5 years? Because that's the reality, that we all know and love here in the valley. Yes, but
I just had a couple things. I was just curious because some other spots we've worked on with vineyards. I just learned this a few years ago that the Glassy sharpshooter is actually really happy in riparian areas. And in other vineyards, we've had to comply with 100-foot setback from the riparian zone to start planting vineyards. So I was just curious what your viticulturalist, you know, input was on that. And then also, I think just keep in mind, like if you're standing in the children's exploration area, I just had hiked through a ranch yesterday at 2 o'clock, and it was very crispy and dry and kind of horrible. So these non-irrigated areas are going to be crispy and dry and horrible in August. So you don't want to have this like really charming little mushrooms and berries and stuff, and then 10 feet away is this godforsaken, you know, welcome to the valley in August kind of feel. So I think there's got to be a sort of an a way to sort of buffer things. My question is for you, do we do the height thing today, or is that floating out there?
this is, the thing we recorded the support for it. Nicole, I didn't see a planner memo for the project. And do you need any specific finding from us regarding that 35-foot height limit, or is that solely a planning and development finding, and you just want to know what we think?
Well, let me see if I can reach out to the project planner. It depends on, it's not clear to me why it's being asked. I first need to know what the base zone height, are they asking for it for an exception? If they're asking for it as an exception, then yes, the BIR would need to make.
No, they were showing that they had less than 50% intrusion beyond 35 feet. I think they're at 34. What I read.
So we're just on the record that we're
just on the
Well,
record.
there's a couple. Let me see if I can message the planner. There's a couple of things going on. The 50%, I believe, has to do with it being a substantial conformity determination.
Yeah.
But what I need to first, which we don't need a finding for, the SCD, that's a planning thing. If they're exceeding the zone district height limit and they're wanting to use some sort of architectural projection allowance, then we would need a finding. So let me.
Okay, well, I think I'll let you guys clarify that. The design team for the applicant can clarify with the planner. And when you come back to us next time, I think, for our purposes and our comments today, we're gonna say that we are not reviewing any kind of a height exemption at this point taken by this board. And, because I don't think you're asking for anything right now, and so there is nothing being given in that way, shape, or form at this point. And we'll leave it at that. And then, depending on what you and the planner and the design team work out, you can come back to us with a clarification of what exactly you need from us.
Okay, yeah.
Brett Johnson, can I interrupt?
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, we're not asking for anything. It's in the winery height standards.
Okay.
The 45-foot height limit and not to exceed 50%. So that's we're just trying to follow the winery ordinance. So we are, just clarify, we are not asking for any variances or. And I know Francisco's on the counter today, I guess, Nicole.
Okay, well, I think it sounds like, thank you, Brett. It sounds like you know the situation and you're not asking for any exception. So if they're not asking for an exception, then we don't need any specific findings.
There's no specific action, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
I think,
Yeah.
just to clarify, what we really are hoping the board can do is find that this proposed project is, from your perspective, substantially conforming with the original design that allows the SCD to move forward with whatever design direction, which I think is really helpful for us to come back. But that was a finding that Francisco was telling us this board needed to make so that the planning process could move forward. Because we lost a month last year with the lake fire last month we lost. So we need to move forward. We're really pushing the envelope. So if you guys could make that finding, we can keep the project moving forward while we work on the design. So just to clarify, thank you.
Okay, Nicole?
Yeah. If the planner's requesting that the board make a finding that it substantially conforms, then I think that's the ask. What the substantial conformity guidelines say are simply that if the project requires BAR, it receives BAR. So what I would say is that the planner just needs generally positive comments from you in order to move this forward.
Because it's not really, I'm not aware of a substantial conformity compliance finding in our.
There's not a required finding, so I think the planner is just saying that they want, generally comments from BAR that I would look at it similar to the way you look at when you're about to send something to the planning commission, for example. You want to be generally okay with it and be able to say that it substantially conforms to the prior design. So that's kind of the ask. There's not a required.
I think our comments, primarily architecturally, we were saying that they're much closer than they were. It looks like they have some work to do as far as blending the different styles and figuring out how that all works together and getting it all to gel as a whole. Because it's kind of piecemeally at this point, or eclectic. That was the best way to say it. And that as far as the landscape, I mean, it seems to be very important to the applicant. They've been very clear that they want this level. And I think within that paradigm, we've given back a lot of feedback in response, just as we did last time. We're giving back feedback in response to that complexity level. And I think we're fairly comfortable with the direction the landscape's going, right? Denise?
Oh, yeah, I think we both talked about how we're concerned about shade, and all of that can be addressed in the next design development portion. Let me see it again.
And I haven't actually finished my comments too, because I have one more thing to say, but I think Nicole, holistically, it's moving in the right direction, and it is substantially very similar to the previous idea of a winery and about this size and this location. So,
I'm fine with that. I feel there's still some tweaks, but it's as I understand it, it's small, less square footage, and they're just boiling it down to size, bulk, and scale. I'm comfortable with that. And I think now that the real work begins.
yeah, we're down to real nitty gritty notes.
Yeah.
And the last comment I had was, and I'm sure you've done this because it's just a question of layers. You've broken this out, all the different vehicle turnings and everything. But what I found was interesting was you're showing these 3 buses here, and yet that's part of your semi turnaround. So I think what you need to do before you come back to us, and this is something I'm gonna describe it this way, but what I really want is you to overlay this all and really narrow down exactly what's happening where on that paving area. And then I think you need to do, as part of that, you need to look and see if you can do what Denise was suggesting, which is find an area to cut out something out of that block. Get something out there, hopefully some kind of a tree or something like that. Because I think when you overlay and do it, that will allow you then to say, you know, this is all backup area, right? Because you're using all of this as backup area, but you don't need this corner, right? And you may not need all of this. It just depends on, so really look at all your studies and see what you've got, your fire truck, your bus, all the different sizes. And then I want you to actually go ahead and show us what exactly that edge, and it can go wiggly piggly. But if you're gonna put parking out there, show us the spaces. Where are people actually going to park? So that's what I'd suggest you do for that area. Just get it, just like the architecture, get it to gel. Pull it all together, and I think that will help Denise and me both in looking at it. And that was the last thing I wanted to talk about. So we want to see them return for conceptual review, because they will need to do story polls at some point.
Oh, that's right. So next time, story polls? So
I
they
think we
can
could
move along
kind of, I'll leave that up to the team. I think you probably will get yourselves pretty gelled together and have it. And at that point, if you're feeling very comfortable with it, I think that would be a good time to do story polls. Just coordinate with your planner, and they will coordinate with hearing support and me. The planner can call me and talk to me directly about what needs to be story polled. So we can talk about that and kind of all figure out what needs to be story polled in advance of the hearing, so that you can be pretty seamless. I'm available to the plan. Okay. All right. Yes.
Can I ask Nicole a question?
Yes.
Nicole, this is Alan, are you there?
Yes.
Do you have air conditioning where you're sitting right now?
No. No.
We have almost 20 people in this room, there's no air conditioning. Can you ask county if they can find a building that might come up to 2022 standards? I'm not even asking for 2024.
Sure, I will email David.
And ask David if he says no, could you ask him to come to our next meeting? I'm absolutely dead serious. We're sitting in here broiling.
I'm very sorry for that. You'll be happy to know our county building. Our
The
county
screen
building.
covers it. Then we'll really die if you close that door.
Our county building also doesn't have air conditioning.
Well,
3 stories.
Yeah,
But I will,
your-
I'll let David know.
Your county building's a little closer to the ocean than we are.
That.
Yeah,
Okay, I said my piece. Have a nice day.
Exactly.
I'll email him.
If you leave that door open, our sound goes right into their office.
You can't open that door
Yeah,
either.
we can't, we're stuck.
Hey, but maybe leave it open, they'll throw us out. I'll have to find another place.
Well,
I'm dead
can you
serious.
close,
I'll get there.
That door, at least pull it to like it was, because otherwise the sound will go out.
That's it, that's it.
Part way, it's not gonna make that much
We'll get
difference.
some.
Next time somebody comes in with a Japanese garden, that's gonna be a requirement.
When I comment about her tower things, I think there was something in the presentation.
We're done, sorry.
No problem.
You don't wanna lose any more weight, do you?
Okay, item number 4, 23 bar 117, Dursa Cassian, new single-family dwelling.
Take off that jacket.
I know, it's.
Have you heard this film, this office property?
Okay.
I can't even imagine.
For now.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, the previous comments were, as there's no plan or sign of the project, these comments are being given in the context, there has not yet been land use review begun. The connection between where guests will arrive and park and the front door is something that we are looking forward to seeing further developed. Also interested in seeing the connections between existing structures and uses developed. Would like to see grading quantities and demonstration of policy compliance with grading requirements. So, you're back, you have a planner,
Yes, we do.
and we're happy to see you.
Yes, hello, Lauren Anderson with A34 Studio, the architect for the project.
Okay, he said, hold on, just 2 shades. Adam, I see you're online, did you have anything you wanted to add now?
Hi, Madam Clerk, thank you. Good morning. Nothing to add right now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
So apologies, you don't get the New Zealander today. You're stuck with me.
That's okay.
That's a good break.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
He's not watching.
Is that audible? We wouldn't be like this if it was cooler.
Yeah, right.
We wouldn't be
You're
so
agitated for me. We'll make it quick.
Tell Alan it was the
Yeah,
air
quick.
conditioning.
We like quick.
Blackout.
Okay, so quick recap, it was here last October, I believe, so we have 20 acres off East Oak Trail Road, and there's an existing.
I don't see a vicinity map, did I miss it?
No, you did not miss it. It's not on there.
Okay, well, here's your overview, I think we remember vaguely where we are.
Yeah, so it's behind Robar, and then you kind of go back the ways. It was near the research fire. So the property has an existing single-family home and an existing driveway up to that, and we are proposing a new residence. So if you'd like to go to sheet number 5A 1.00, that's the overall site plan.
I'm just gonna flip through here slowly. as we go.
Okay. So what you saw last time was this model down here.
Did I miss it? I'm into the C sheets.
Yeah, okay.
Cause it went right into the C from A7 and 3.
Sure, you can stop there, that's fine. So what you saw last time was what you're seeing in this model below, and on the site plan, the biggest change we did was we relocated the swimming pool. That helped reduce the grading, which last time we did not have exact grading quantities. And even from this version, we had 2,100 cubic yards of cut, and by relocating the pool, we're now down to 1670.
Okay, so in the pool in that plan is down.
Yeah, it was like off to the left.
Here, we see
Yeah.
it. But now it's.
It was sticking out of that.
Now it's behind.
It was sticking out.
Here.
Yeah.
It was right below the ridge where the hammerhead is, to the west. South, right there.
Right there, where it's shown on this plan.
That's the proposed location. The previous location was just northwest of that, where it kind of flattens out in the site.
Oh, like how you move it.
Let's just look.
What is that thing doing?
That's her laser pointer. She's got.
She's trying to show her.
But I'll get one.
Oh, I think she's got one in her. Got some tricks. There we go. Here, I'm gonna give you the laser pointer.
So this is the new proposed location, or that's the old?
This is the old one.
Okay.
So part of the comments were to talk about the connection between where guests arrive and the front door. And so part of that discussion is going to be coming from our landscape architect, but part of the major change by moving the pool was to help engage in that connection. So if you keep flipping through to the elevations.
The first.
There's also, there's a couple barns down there.
Those were the floor plans. Let me see. That was the floor plans of the two chunks. There's your roof.
So here are your elevations. We are looking at a metal roof and we're looking at this Rhine zinc matte gray. I have a sample here to look at. And then we're also looking at a wood siding, thermally modified, kind of like a grayish brown for the wood. And then a board form concrete for the basement and garage. And if you want to flip to two more sheets, that would be, we're also doing the steel doors and windows. So that's pretty much our palette right there. And I think I'm gonna turn it over to our landscape architect. If you wanna go to the end sheet, I think it's number 22 in the PDF. He can walk you through the entry and how it all relates to each other and the use of the spaces.
Yes, I'll be brief as well. Good morning, all. My name is Scott Capps with EPT Design. We're the local landscape architect on the project. If you could flip back one sheet, then we can look at the existing conditions in our tree disposition plan. Want to be very clear that we are not removing any native oaks. We are not removing any of the native hillsides chaparral planting. We're actually really taking inspiration from that in our planting design and really going to pull that up to the new residents. We are removing 2 non-native pepper trees. Those are the 2 trees shown X'd out. We are currently proposing to put back 13 new trees, predominantly native oaks and some olive trees. So overall, the overall site plan, just to orient you, north is page right. So where there's the number 1 on the right side, that is the existing guest parking area. And what we're doing in terms of a connection from that existing house, that existing guest parking to our new project is creating a new series of very just kind of this minimal pathway, kind of broken down concrete paving with planted joints, gravel joints, as well as a series of low concrete walls, board form concrete walls put up the architecture. That starts to give a sense of arrival for guests, a bit of separation from our project to the existing residents. Also starts to shape the space around the new pool layout. Really all of the outdoor spaces are an extension of interior uses. So we have the pool terrace on the north side, as well as a more formal kind of living lounge area with an outdoor barbecue. Leads you up to the front door. On the south side, it really becomes a little bit more rustic. So using decorative gravel, the concrete paving again, and we have what we're calling kind of this viewing deck with the spa. And of course, as all the architecture and the landscape design is really oriented out towards those stunning vistas. And just overall, I think you can see in the imagery, our approach to the landscape design is to really have as light a touch on things as possible. So really taking cues from the architecture, but as I mentioned with the existing planting around, really just taking inspiration and cues from our surrounding context. We can go to the next slide. Our preliminary irrigation plan, primarily, this is really showing the extent of new planting, new irrigation with the hatches. We'll be using, high efficient subsurface drip irrigation for the majority. The darker hatch on the upper left part of the plan, we are proposing a native meadow. They have a young child, so that's kind of passive recreation. So we'll be working through that meadow mix eventually. But in general, very, low flow of fixtures. And I think with our preliminary calcs, we're currently at using 57% of our allotted water use. That's also accounting for the pool. So I think as things get established, that number will go greatly down. That's kind of the goal. So yeah, looking at the planting plan, in the images, the two upper left images are existing images from the site. So again, really taking cues. Overall, using new oak trees, which are the larger tree symbols to really anchor the home into the site, pick up on the existing oaks that surround us, as well as using olive trees, which is a request from the owner, just creating sculptural moments against the architecture backdrop to the space. And then overall, again, really letting that existing hillside planting come right up to the house, as you can kind of see some of those concept imageries. So a heavy balance of natives and other regionally appropriate drought tolerant species. Really, again, just can't overemphasize blending in to the existing surroundings. Now our final sheet is the lighting plan, which is great because all the fixtures are popping up, so hopefully it's easy to read. Very minimal approach. Everything would be oriented down, hooded, night sky compliant, and really the main lighting is on the north side, just subtle path lighting, grabbing people from guest parking, getting them to the front entry. And we are showing 3 hooded downlights from trees, and that's really just to illuminate some of the outdoor spaces. So again, as minimal approach as possible. That's it for the landscape portion.
Okay.
Did you, are there any, one of the comments was interested in seeing connections between existing structures and uses developed. And we had a question about the grading quantities. So, I don't know if you wanna talk about how this sits into the site with everything else.
Sure, if you wanna go back to the landscape plan, that kind of addresses it the best. Like you said, number 1 is where it's like at the end of the existing driveway, and so the connection between that existing house and this new house was a series of a pathway and a couple walls and the pool, and so that was the connection between the 2 spaces. So it's more of a public space. The pool can be used by both structures. And then in regards to grading, so we, when we came here the first time, we had 2,100 cubic yards of cut, 400 cubic yards of fill, and we have reduced that to 1,670 of cut, but we still have 400 fill. We are currently looking at some alternate options with the new driveway for the house to reduce that grading and potentially reducing the size of the basement to reduce that grading. So we're still studying that to
Still
figure
working
out.
on it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we had. Just understand here, so this is the grading plan, so this is the new driveway cut with the turnaround.
Yeah, and you see on the right hand side of the site section, it looks, we're gonna be looking at a 5-foot retaining wall on the uphill side. And we're trying to get the downhill side relatively flush.
So that you don't need retaining in that edge.
Yes. So we're gonna have caissons and that.
Okay, and then you mentioned, other structures, I think there were some elevations.
There's a couple barns, down, so this parcel covers 2 ridges. In between the 2 ridges, the one that we have a house proposed on, go down the valley, that's where we're proposing a couple storage barns.
And that's these?
Yes. So it still slopes quite a bit, so they're each about 4 feet or 3.5 feet elevation.
In this east elevation, are these like roll-up doors that are glass, or what are you
Yes.
looking at? Okay, and then this one here on the south elevation?
Not 100% sure.
It looks like windows.
Still random. Yes.
Okay, so this is the existing structure, is this the one that's part of it's being converted to an ADU? Which
Correct.
is obviously outside of our
Yes.
Okay. These are where you were talking about placing the barns.
Correct.
All right, so when you come back, we're gonna wanna see how you get to them.
Sure.
So. I don't think we have an intrinsic, well, we'll get to the barns in a minute, but. I'll make those comments. All right, so that does it for you. Any other questions for clarification?
I do. Could you, I guess the landscape site plan? I'm still. I guess I'm confused about how, thank you. So at one is where people park and then you walk kind of up those through the pavers and then along the pool. And then that's the front door. So walk, okay. And then is there a garage where you pull in?
The garage is, number 10 is actually pointing towards a green roof that sits above the garage.
Okay.
Look at the model.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So you can enter kind of down below. So guest parking is
That's
up
what that
above.
other driveway is, basically.
Okay. And so the owners actually entered through the garage. Okay. That was my question. I wanted to make sure I understood how so when you arrive.
Yeah, the owner's everyday kind of daily entry would be through the garage on the bottom level of the house. For guests, they would park over at that number 1 on page right and enter from the north side.
So maybe go back to the overall site plan. So is the wayfinding kind of easy? Because to me, it might be a little confusing to approach a house from like the side, I guess. So I don't think I see how you get to the
new drive turnoff for the garage is shown in the darker gray. The existing drive going up to the guest parking would stay, so there would be a new turnoff to the garage.
Okay, so when you drive up there.
Just darken it out.
Okay.
Sure.
So you kind of keep going forward and then you ride and then, okay, new driveway for the owners. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Public comment?
If you're online and wish to speak on an item, please raise your hand or dial *6. We do not have any public comment. Oh, just kidding. We have, is it Mila? Mila Manish?
Yes, hello. I just, I live next door and I just wanted to know.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Sorry.
Just let me tell you something real quick. So, if you could, point your comments to things that are in the purview of this board, that's helpful to us. I mean, we're looking at site planning, mass bulk and scale, those kinds of things. There's no protection for private views, so on and so forth. However, it's your 3 minutes, do what you want. So take it away.
Okay, I just have a question on what the building code is for the proximity to the neighboring property.
That's way beyond our purview. That's not something that we deal with, and your best response for that is gonna be the planner, who is online at the moment.
Maybe he can answer a question.
Adam?
Hi, Madam Chair. Hi, Mila. So, my name is Adam, I'm the planner for the project. So, I believe you're referring to setbacks, but the building separation is 10 feet for, proposed structure, 10 feet away from all other structures. So, if there's no, but I believe you're referring to setbacks, but let me get back to you in like 2 minutes while I pull the setbacks for this zone district real quick.
Okay.
Adam, are you 10 feet from the microphone?
You sound like you're talking a little underwater, Adam, that's all. We
Yeah.
were having trouble understanding.
I
So,
think what we can say at this point though is that where the structures are proposed is compliant with the setback requirements.
currently,
Yeah.
does that answer your question, Ms. Manish?
Yes, it does. But there is no requirement on the road or the hammerhead for turnaround, I assume.
It's not as strenuous as, being a specific setback, if I understand it correctly.
Is there a phone number we could give her to call? She could speak to somebody directly.
Yeah, Nicole, do you have a P&D number that we can give Ms. Manish so that she can contact Adam?
I'll email. She may have, do you have the agenda? His email is actually on the
Yes,
agenda itself.
His email is on there, yeah.
I do have it. Thank you so much.
Yes, yeah, so I strongly suggest that if you have questions regarding land use clearance and those kinds of things, and it could be setback and zoning and all that kind of stuff. If you contact Adam, I'm sure he can give you chapter and verse on all of that. Did you have any comments regarding the architecture?
Nope.
Okay, all right. So, does that pretty much conclude your comment today?
Yes.
All right, I just want to make sure I wasn't like chopping you off at the meat.
Thank you.
Okay. You're very welcome. So let's go ahead and don't forget to mute yourself. So let's go ahead and come back to the board. Who would like to start? The board.
I'll start, just so I understand. So if you're a guest, it's like, how, and you park your car, how far is it to the front door? Like a couple 100 feet?
Maximum.
Okay, I mean, you're walking by this pool and I'm just trying to get a sense of it, because at night, you know, it's a little wild out there.
Which we like, I think.
Yeah.
We really like that.
And so do the mountain lions and the bears. And then something I just ran into yesterday with a client, their insurance company, because of recent fire issues, is now demanding that you have 5 feet of no vegetation whatsoever around the building. And things like chaparral, you know, you might get really tweaked in the fire management plan. And also location of trees have to be the edge of the canopy 30 feet away from the building. 30. That's what this insurance guy wanted.
That's
Just-
that's for insurance or the fire?
It's
That's
for
for
insurance. So when you can't, you don't want to create an uninsurable situation. So anyway, it just seems to be changing daily at this point. So just keep that in your radar. And really, you know, I think the only other classic thing for out in that area is just light spill management and how you're going to address. What?
From inside or from?
Inside too, I mean, you know, it's just, there are lots of little lanterns out there.
Yeah.
So those are my only comments.
No comment.
Denise?
Yeah, I think I asked the questions were answered, so I don't have any other comments.
Yeah, I think generally you made the most out of a challenging location or site and used that.
Speak up for Nicole.
Yeah, generally you made the most out of a challenging location to put the building and done some interesting site planning moves. Small note on the architecture is, I think if you could focus on revisiting the LITE proportions across the building, it'd be a little helpful. See, the more horizontal stretched out ones imply sectional roll-up doors where you don't have them, and then you have smaller square ones in other places where, you know, it kind of throws off things a little bit, but generally I think you've done a good job of still keeping a farmhousey sort of character and a modern language and, you know, made the most of a challenging site.
Good. When you come back, I'm still going to ask you to keep working on those connections between structures. For example, how do you get from here down into this area here where the barns are going? I see there's a dirt road, but you know, what is how's that access gonna work, and really see it? And if you can show it on everything cohesively on one plan. I'm not sure, this might be the civils plan, so, yeah. But that's fine, they're gonna have to address it at some point, but if all the plans are jiving, I mean, I know it's early, I'm not digging. But I am really concerned about this area, where your guest arrival, because I think, yes, you are, you've got the benefit of most people coming up are probably not gonna take this road. But I think you're actually gonna need some signage that says, you know, up here, guest parking. And then I think you're gonna need something that really deliberately says, this is the way in. Because you're gonna wanna come to this structure. As a guest, if I show up and I've never been to this site and I've never met this client, I'm gonna pull up and I'm gonna go, well, that's the closest structure and that one looks kind of secluded. So it must have a different entrance. And I think people who come here the second time, they're gonna try and come down this new drive. So just really think about, if I don't know anything about anything and I come here as a guest, where am I gonna wind up? And how do you keep me in the right place? And then, because there's really no entrance, I know you have, the landscape architect has laid out they have an entrance experience along the house, but there's no way to tell an arriving guest, this is the start, aside from those little bits of patio paving, and it's a blind entry. You know, I'm gonna be much more likely to go to the right here, because I can see the house. So this is a little, I mean, I don't know if you put a little number, address number on the other side, but you need to think about your wayfinding. And not that I'm saying, you know, it stops the project in its tracks, because I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying you really should think about somebody who's never been there before, and, you know, and your materials, that's also gonna inform. So like if you have asphalt for that new drivers, and this is crushed gravel going up to the top, I'm gonna take the asphalt every time. Yeah. Cause it's the more, you know, that's the more upscale version, it says entry. So think about your materials and how people are gonna experience it, especially providing the homeowner from the guest. Yeah, parking, it can be difficult. It's a challenging site, very much so. Other than that, I support and agree with what everybody else has said as far as what you've got going on. It looks really nice, but do watch your plant choices, because you're gonna get nailed. So yeah,
You're safe, no plants.
yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, well, actually, that's true, right?
No plants.
Come to my house.
Okay. We good? Alan, any comments?
Nothing to add, you guys covered it.
Okay. All right, so thank you very much. We want them to come back for the conceptual, or how do you want to return? We're ready for preliminary?
I'd say around.
I'm ready.
Preliminary.
Okay, so return for preliminary.
Can we just ask for clarification on that last statement about?
Can you stand up here and ask us,
Oh,
please?
yeah. What was your statement about plants?
Her joking
Oh,
comment was,
She was just saying.
it was a joke.
Be careful.
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
careful.
I know, we were like, did we miss something?
Watch
Okay,
You didn't miss a direction.
Okay, great.
Feel pretty good about that.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Gonna be out of a job.
Right.
Nice model too. Thanks for
Yeah.
bringing
Yeah.
I really know.
Love a model.
We're not granted.
Oh, I have a comment off the record.
Okay.
Don't ruin it with a bunch of little bends.
Oh, trust me.
Bends.
Sticking out of the.
Do these really pristine little minimal farmhouses and then the contractor sticks a million vents all over the place and just blows it up.
We don't have a choice on that. Some of that's by code.
Well, what
You
she's
gotta
saying is
figure it
plan
out
for it.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, yeah.
Everybody. We gotta change it on the fly. The drawing showed vents on both sides. The fire department showed up, they put them all on one side. What are we gonna do, come back to C-bar? Or you just gonna have your contractor do it?
I'd say have a contractor do it.
That's what we did.
Okay, all right. So item number 5, 24 bar 80 Verizon at La Purísima Golf
Well, I
Course.
agree. We put them on the side.
We
See the street.
Does we have somebody here to present this? There's nobody in the room, so.
Maybe we should call.
Using that cell service.
Exactly.
Armando Lopez, are you here for this project?
It's surprising.
Okay.
He's here, it's online.
Oh.
We just started hearing him talk. He's unmuted, but we're not hearing anything.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, Armando Montes here, agent for Verizon Wireless. I can speak to the project.
Okay. Do we have a plan that shows us our vicinity map? Okay.
Yeah, there should have been a set of drawings submitted for this project.
Oh, there we go. That's on the photo mapper, so.
All right. Yeah, like I mentioned, my name is Armando Montes with Sequoia Deployment Services, representing the applicant Verizon Wireless. Verizon is proposing a new wireless telecommunications facility at 2898 East Highway 246 in the city of Lompoc, APN 099-131-030. The proposed project is roughly located on the center of the property. Access to the site will be from an existing access road on Highway 246 that leads up the hill. The facility itself is designed as a 3-sector, 50-foot monopine that will sit in a 30-foot by 30-foot equipment lease area, securely enclosed by an 8-foot tall chain link fence with privacy slats. The objective of this project is to improve the overall network coverage and capacity in the surrounding areas, especially to the La Purísima golf course. This concludes my brief presentation, and I'm open to any questions you may have.
Yep, I'm gonna ask you to go up there for just a second, and I'm gonna ask you some questions. All right, so this is 246 we're looking at. This is the roundabout. This is Mission Gate Road. So this is where 246 turns and heads south into Lompoc. Everybody familiar with where we're at?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the what they're showing us. This is up on site. So this is this the Spectrum site already here?
Yes, it's an existing site by another carrier. I believe that's either AT&T or T-Mobile. There's 2 other carriers up on this area already.
Okay, so this is looking south. This is looking away from 246. Okay, let's see, that's sort of towards Lompoc. That's your entrance, right? Here?
Yeah, that's 246 right there, looking from that direction.
So there's your proposed location. So you're coming off of this road and then off of this little one here.
Correct.
Okay. Let's look at this. Okay, so there's the site. There's where we're coming up. Okay. Zoom in a little, and I'll need you to. Okay, so this is the existing site that's there?
Correct. Those are existing sites right there. This giant dotted square in the middle is exactly where we're going. Yep,
This
right
is
there.
where you're going, and these 2 or 3 chunks over here are also existing. This is existing poles, and this is your site.
Correct.
Okay. Let's go around again. Yeah, there's a lot of co-location going on. All right, so
How about an elevation?
I'm working on it. And so there, this is the plan. So everything you're doing is within the boundaries of that, whatever it is, what is that, 30 by
Yes.
30?
30 by 30, correct.
Okay, that's the pole, and it's gonna be a monopine. Okay,
Oh, it's a pine.
it's a pine. Okay, so this is the only elevation, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
It is what it is.
I mean.
So, have you got 2 fences here? You've got a barbed wire cattle fence, and then inside you've got chain link with some
Yeah,
kind of
there's a cattle fence that cuts perpendicular through the site, which we're keeping most of it. Obviously, the parts through our area we're removing. So that's why you'll see the strip of cattle fence on the bottom. But in our site, it will just be the chain link fence.
Oh, so there's some equipment there already that you're removing?
It used to be an existing, it used to be a Sprint site or Nextel site years ago. It's since been abandoned. There's still an existing slab out there for where their equipment used to be. We're pretty much retaking over this area and reutilizing it.
Okay, so this is the barbed wire cattle fence that's gonna go around here. So you've got 2 gates and 2 fences.
Yes.
Can I ask a really stupid question? Why do we have 2 fences? Why don't we just have 1?
Yeah, I believe there's a cattle fence that I think it extends further. And I think you might be able to see it through one of the more enlarged.
Here. There's some here and there's some here. But my point is why do you have a double enclosure? I mean, couldn't you just run the cattle fence up to your chain link? And the same on this side?
Yeah, no, that's a good observation. Yeah, the drawings might be a little bit misleading, but my understanding is that there is existing cattle fence that we are leaving alone because there are roaming cattle on this property.
Right, and if you look at the screen right now, see where my cursor's moving?
Yeah.
So there's an existing cattle fence down here, and there's one on this side here. Why doesn't it just run into your chain link and then you've got a complete fence?
Yeah, so I believe we were trying to
curious.
keep. Yeah, no, I think it was just an oversight. I think they were trying to keep the original fencing at this project. We originally got some comments back from planning asking us to update the fencing to a more secure design, which we did. It could have just been an oversight not to remove the other fencing.
Well, because this is what it looks like right now. See, the cattle fence is coming right through here.
Mm-hmm.
Then it looks like existing cattle fence here, and I think, well, all right, I'm not gonna opine for planning. And then this is the stuff you're removing, got it, all right. So you're gonna enlarge that pad, got it, all right. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, did you say, Armando, did you say that cattle are still walking around? Okay.
Yes, there's still cattle out here grazing the lands.
Okay, okay, so, yeah, maybe that's why. And then, are you here because we can see the poles from the 246?
Yeah, I mean, we always have to go through a DAR review for a new telecommunications facility. It's not necessarily related to design. It's one of our requisites for our conditional use permit.
Get to do it? Okay.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay, that was my question. It seems like it would be visible from the 246, so.
Yeah, and there's going to be portions of it that are visible for sure, considering that it's 50 feet tall. It's going to be somewhat taller than the existing landscaping that's out there. Obviously, we tried our best to blend it in with the surrounding areas by making it a monopine.
Monopine, yep, okay, thanks so much.
Of course.
Are there, can I ask?
Yeah,
There aren't any other trees out there though, right?
well, there are several trees, they're just not pines.
There are?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's live oak trees just to the north of it, but because
That's
the
fine.
project sits on a hill, they're sloped.
I'm fine with all of it, but I just have a little bone to pick. But there are many in Southern California of the monopines that don't seem to have their tops. Like they go 2/3 of the way up and it looks like a pine and then it's flat.
And then they look like they just chop them off at the top. Yeah.
Yeah,
we've gotten some of that complaints before. We're definitely trying to work with our vendors to ensure that.
Are you gonna have another one of those complaints again?
We want a top.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying, because it's weird.
So I think what Puck is saying is if you look at this plan, you see how this top is kind of truncated?
Yeah.
And what she's talking about is often these little three
Sprigs.
are omitted. And then it looks really like you just cut the tree off. But even with the 3 sprigs, it looks cut off. So you need to create some kind of pinnacle, a point. It needs to look like a pine tree. If that's what it's supposed to be, that's what you need to make it look like. You need to get in touch with your inner Disney.
Yeah, well, your vendor has to come through with a proper product.
So, okay,
I have a question. Which of the foliage options are you proposing?
Yeah, so I think right now we were initially leaning towards the 70% green, 30% brown, but we're open to any suggestions you guys might have. Yeah, I've kind of gone through the Google images over the years. Stays fairly green, it looks like, on that, at least with the surrounding live oak trees most of the year around. So I kind of felt like that was probably the best option, but if you guys have other suggestions, we're open to it.
okay, so wait, that's 70% green, 30% brown, but. Right, so you're looking at the one on the left.
Correct.
What do you guys think?
I think the brownie one.
The one in the middle?
I would go for the middle, yeah.
You think, I think, we all think you're better off with the 30% green, 70% brown.
Okay, that's fine. It's easy change.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think it'll blend more. And this is exactly illustrating Puck's comment. See, they just look like fat lollipops. The shape, see how this tree, even this tree has a point, and this one here.
Are completely plastic.
Yeah, well, those are the really bad ones, but I mean, see how this just gets truncated? And see how this pine tree right in front of it has a point?
Yeah, I see that. Okay, so you're looking for a little bit more full and a little bit more tapered as instead of it just being chopped off at the top or just being a giant bulb, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We don't want to look like somebody harvested their Christmas tree from the top.
Understood. Okay. I'll make note of that.
Okay.
Are there any other pine trees out there?
No.
Okay.
Or freedom brown.
No, thing, you're worried about the color. This is gonna be the only pine tree in the area. It's gonna stick out like a sore thumb anyway. What do you got?
That's gonna be brown. It's gonna look like a dead pine tree.
Okay, so, any more questions, so I can move to public comment?
No.
No.
Public comment, do we have any public comment on this item? Doesn't look like it.
Nobody called in about this?
Nobody's on the
Because we
line.
couldn't get reception.
We do not have any public. All right, so board comments. I think the board comments go along the lines of, please make sure that the monopine does not look like it's been truncated at the top. We like the color 30% green, 70% brown. Any other comments that anybody else made yet?
The fencing.
I'm gonna go to the fencing. Oh, yeah. So, on the fencing,
May I interrupt real fast?
absolutely.
Are there any legal requirements in the electronic code of the FCC that requires you to have 2 layers of fencing?
No, not, well, at least not for the site, no. We've done our third-party EME report, and there is no additional fencing needed or things of that nature. So no, it's just the 2 fencing was mostly for the cattle and for our own security. But like I said, I'll clean that up in the future.
Quick question here. So this existing barbed wire fence to remain and this barbed wire fence here to be removed. I'm assuming this dot here, this is also barbed wire fence right now around the old, it says existing cattle fence to be removed. That's also the same as this?
Yes.
Okay. So my question is there a requirement? Does the height of this cattle fencing and the material of the cattle fencing preclude it from meeting requirements for security around the new structure?
Yes. So from the planning perspective, we originally tried to utilize the existing cattle fencing or the fencing that was there before. They felt like it wasn't secure enough. So that's why we went that's why we proposed an 8-foot tall fence instead. I think the existing cattle fence is only like 4 feet, maybe 6 feet.
Yep.
Pretty
Okay,
short.
so your proposal here on the screen. So you really need this 8-foot fence, right?
Correct.
Okay, so in other times we've asked that that you remove the barbed wire on the top and just do an 8-foot chain link fence. I don't know if that works or is even necessary in this case. I mean, the rest of the.
Yeah, who's gonna drive up there on traffic?
Right. So my suggestion is this existing barbed wire fence here, coming in to the right, put a pole right next to your new chain link and just tie off the barbed wire there. And do the same thing on the other side so that your chain link now provides the, nope, you say no?
No, I mean, I just think ultimately the landowner, the cattle guy.
Yep.
Is gonna.
Is that Williams out
gonna
there?
do what he wants to make it work for his cows.
Yeah.
And they've got their requirement for their box.
I agree.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They can just put in their 8-foot chain link fence the way they're proposing it. And then I think they can omit this other fence all the way around. And the cattle guy is gonna run his fence right up to their chain link and that's gonna be it.
Well, I don't know. I think you're right, Huck. The cattle guy might say, I need the barbed wire cattle fence to keep them from.
I don't think that's in our purview. I don't think it needs to be in our purview.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think we're pushing it.
Okay, so you're saying leave it like it is.
Yeah, just leave it alone. We're overriding the president of the board.
Fine with me.
Okay.
I don't care. All right, so leave it as is. Do we have any desire or need to see any views from 246 so we can see what this is gonna look like, or do we care?
We don't care.
All right,
And we're sorry.
Okay.
No, we need it.
Receptive.
so preliminary final?
Yeah.
So return preliminary final, you need to be clear on your plans. You're gonna keep, the layouts just the way you have it. You will need to update your plans to reflect that the tree has a top that looks like a natural pine tree. So that's gonna make it taller. And you will need to indicate on this set of plans, just add this information from this model pine exhibit you got here. Add this, pine foliage, 30% green, 70% brown, add that picture and that call out to this plan set in your elevation. Okay, so just add a picture and then a line call out so that we know what color it is and it's in here. You might add the color of the monopine just for grins and giggles, for completeness, and then come back preliminary final, I think full board, just zip through it. Okay, I think those are the only two changes.
Okay,
And,
simple enough.
We'll be good. I'm surprised nobody wants to see a picture from 246, but okay.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
All right,
Get it?
we're done.
With the number of accidents on 246, I just want cell phone service out there for people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
There's that big blank space there. Yeah.
tell me about it. Okay, so.
Are you guys ready to look at the minutes?
We are, I am ready to quit sharing. You need to.
Yeah, I gave you co-host rights already, nothing.
No, I'm actually, board member.
She's like, let's go through these.
Okay.
And there, you'll notice there's a few spots where I have X's where I'm looking for info.
Okay. And
is that big enough? Do you want it bigger?
I think that's okay.
That's fine.
This is the San Sebastiano Winery minute.
Okay, so lighting on the west side of the building, you could say building lighting on the west side should be reduced. And it's only at the doors, so.
That's Sebastian.
Yeah, Sebastian, yeah. And then you can, and then say landscape lighting on the west side should be reduced, particularly along the pathway. You can combine those two.
4 and 5.
I'd leave them separate.
Oh, he says leave them separate.
I think you got two completely
Fine.
separate things there. I would leave them separate.
Okay, so on the south side, 4 and 6 are the same. They're the same area. 4 and 6 are the same. They're referring to the same.
Should I
area. Should be
delete 4 or combine it?
put it in with the terrace. Yeah, put it in with 6.
And then I had pergola and something else that I didn't catch.
We were calling it a couple different things. We were calling it the courtyard. We were calling it the pergola over there, over the courtyard, terrace area. We were calling it a bunch of different things, but that's what it is. The pergola actually is kind of enclosed on 3 sides by the building, and that was where we got courtyard. And then, and my comment about the terrace lighting, terrace and pergola lighting should be scaled back so that it doesn't differ greatly in intensity as compared to other areas, that would be fine. That would get it. You could say, number 6 could just say photometric studies would be helpful. And look at darkening the stucco color, that's another thing.
Is darkening the right word, or can we say like refining or softening? Do you think there's a risk
My
they would come
problem
back?
My neighbor across the way, when that sun hits their stucco, illuminates my whole house.
Yeah.
That's a
that's-
problem sitting up on that ridge where everyone can see it for miles. In fact, I could see it from Seoul, my house, which is 5 miles.
Which is, but
I'm trying
it's,
to pull that down. So darkening, I don't know if that's the word, but
Well, you're getting more at like a earth tone suggestion, right, or no?
so.
I would,
so-
I would, I would run the whole thing myself personally, but that wasn't gonna get me anywhere.
Right.
So I'm going with your suggestion.
So in a world where you can't ban plaster from existing, what's the
Okay,
best word?
let's get back to what we said.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, let's look at,
Darkening,
the stucco too,
What would happen, instead of putting this, telling them what to do with it? What would happen if we told them what we don't like about it, put it back on them?
Or what if we just told them to come in with the materials?
yeah.
How's that?
So inside the balance of what.
let's do this. Look at, modifying the stucco color
Modifying, that's a great.
to ensure
Yeah.
it seeps into
Yes.
the background.
You
How's
nailed it.
that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
That's right.
I'm on board with
Love
that.
it.
Okay.
Modify.
Okay, and then, my suggestion was, number 8, it says provide closing materials information for the next meeting. And I think you could go to number 9 and say, please present, a complete package, including colors, materials, all this kind of stuff. No, I don't want to say that. You can take it out. Sorry. I was trying to get my comment in there about if you present the whole package, then that's what goes to the planning commission and it's the whole thing. You guys can come back in. Grupo Tahanian, next one.
Oh, who recused on 2?
That's true.
That was, Huck was absent and, Denise recused herself. Actually, to be Lonis and Erickson absent, and then.
Yeah, because I wasn't here to recuse myself.
It's a magic.
You'll need to change that to their last names eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. Okay, a higher overall does not answer.
Oh,
Is that what I said, unsure about lights and gates, that's not very articulate, but what I was trying to convey was that.
You could probably just take the comment out, because
Yeah.
it was more of an aside.
Well, and it's just part of the broader picture.
Captured.
I'd like
Yeah,
to see the design coalesce around a broader vision of architecture.
yes.
If you want to drive somebody batshit, that's exactly how to say it.
Well,
What is it,
cohesive.
what is it we're trying to tell them to?
Make something cohesive.
And tell them that.
Yeah.
Is that because of the style?
Can you change it to, or can we consider changing it to, would like to see a more cohesive design?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
short and sweet?
And then, And I'm saying, that's fine, we can stop there, board. But do you wanna say something about the current instant is eclectic? Or do you wanna? How about, there is an eclecticism of styles in the first comment? Instead of there are a lot of different styles being shown, we could say,
Sure.
there is an eclecticism of style.
That's fine.
What does that mean?
It means it's
Means there's
eclectic.
a hell of a lot of things going on.
Isn't that what? I gotta tell you the truth, this is where I'm the guy not in the industry.
Yeah.
You gotta speak in plain English, so somebody who is an
Well, then-
owner or somebody watching understands what you mean. And I got no idea what that means, you got a lot of different styles, tell people that.
Well,
That's
you
what
know
it
what
says.
eclectic means, right?
It does now, but you're changing it.
All right, well, eclectic is too much of a 50-cent word.
Well, it's not too much of 50-cent word, okay, I mean.
Hodgepodge.
Yeah.
No, I just was changing it because eclectic sums it up, because that's what eclectic means, but, okay,
Tomato,
it's fine.
tomato.
Go out there and ask any three people walking by,
My mother was an English lit major, hush.
what it means.
And I just would like to, on number one, say that the roof line of the tower, I want to be very specific. The roof line of the tower.
Uh-oh.
What did you do?
I don't know, nothing.
Control Z, Control Z.
Hold on. I think it's because I'm sharing my screen. It's being. Hold on. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second.
Take a pen and write it out and then do it later.
Yeah.
No, I just don't know what.
The screen share shouldn't have anything to do with it, but.
Look at this stuff.
The-
No.
The Word document
She
freaked
did.
out.
Yeah, just
Kevin,
like what I was doing.
Just
Seven word
right
document.
just fine, I think it just blew it out.
yeah,
Too
yeah,
many
whatever
50-cent
it
words,
did.
does it work?
It doesn't like that.
Yeah, she was
We'll get
adjusting the
contests about words,
justification
I'll do
and
it
some
for
other
you.
things, and this document is really uber sensitive. You dare not change the formatting. I've
Just
tried,
like us.
I've done it. Don't mess with the formatting, it's tight.
Well, I'm sensitive.
No, I've tried to redo the formatting and each different section is formatted differently and justified. And it even has different fonts and it's a mess.
Maddening.
Well, it's probably had a lot of hands on it.
All right.
Okay.
There-
I can fix the fonts, and I can
back?
fix that later.
Number 4 got taken out, somebody said, right?
So,
So she was talking, Puck was talking about the higher overall roof line, she was talking about the tower.
Yes, the
Incorporating the tower into the.
the projection of the tower roof line beyond the ridge line.
The original structure down the tower
Right.
forward into the. top
Has
of the roof
changed
line.
from the original drawings.
Did you like the original?
We prefer the original.
Yes.
Tell them that.
I just do.
Yeah, that's.
But I want
clear.
to say why I prefer
Okay,
the
no,
original.
that was clear.
And then she said, we prefer the integration achieved with the original.
That's good.
The new roof
And then you're
line,
gonna
new
take
roof
out-
line is too tall, go back to the old one.
Gonna take out the unsure about the lights of the day, that moves.
And number 2, I think. Or what's going on with number 2? Who said that? Did we,
A couple people had that comment.
okay, then leave it, but take out number 4, right? Okay, that's good.
number 3 was cohesive vision.
Oh, it didn't save.
No, it didn't.
Push back.
all those big words.
Research with that. Just that.
We'd like to see a cohesive,
design vision.
That's clear.
We just flipped again. I'm not sure where we are.
I didn't touch anything. Oh my God.
You saved it and it went back down to the bottom. Okay, well,
All the truckloads dropped off on Saturday.
It said the, so 6, 7, and 8 are really all one comment. Do we like them as they are?
I think it's better to have them separately.
Okay,
You can
and
just check
then,
them off as you go.
number 9.
That's fine.
Okay, 10.
That hits it.
What is number 11? What is number 11 meaning to that? What is it meaning to me?
It's for the planner.
Oh,
That's permitting.
Yeah.
okay.
All right. Yeah, there's.
That was that whole question about why we are 35%.
Yeah,
The planner can just check his own box then.
Okay. So
Okay.
it's not for them, so should we say?
12, I think if you look back on, the previous comments, it said, shit, hold on. Sorry.
Nicole?
Site visit is required, storage poles, a site visit with storage poles is required. Coordinate with planner and via the planner, the chair.
Nicole, can I ask you a question?
yeah.
So, and this is just for my own information, if this developer wanted to bring in just brand new architecture, could we still find that it, or did we need to find that it was substantially similar, even though the architecture was modern? Does that matter? I mean, it's still a winery.
Yeah, for substantial conformity determination, there's a set of criteria, and the criteria for BAR is just simply that it receives BAR approval. So whatever is acceptable to you as far as design, you can direct and approve, and the planner will look at the other 8 or so criteria separately that have to do with, square footage and distance to property line, things like that.
Okay.
But the planner was specifically asking us to weigh in on what we felt like as far as substantial conformity to help with those 7 or 8 other items.
Yeah, but it's honestly not. No, I don't think it's necessary. I think you have your full authority to make comments as you normally would on this.
I mean, if if they brought in a design that looked like Chris Gill Winery, could we, that's a winery. And that.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't think you need to worry about the substantial conformity. I think you just need to review it as you normally would.
Okay.
And the planner's job to look at the criteria.
Okay, so they kept comparing it to an earlier one and trying to make that work, so.
And this was a request, number 11 is a request of the applicant and the plan. It has nothing to do with us.
No, my question is a general one, doesn't have anything to do with our comments.
Gotcha. All right.
So 12, what else did you want on 12? Bethany?
Coordinate with planner. And planner will coordinate with chair. And that's it. Yep. Okay, are we done? Okay. Did you write down the name of the gal? Yes. Okay. So Teresa's got the public comment taken care of.
LIGHT, number 2.
No.
Nope, he was very specific that it was LITE.
Did I say window light?
Okay.
Or
How about window light? Does that work?
Yeah.
There we go.
Are you going to be in the office? Okay.
Do we often put insurance?
No.
notes in?
I think we can, number 5 can go out.
Yeah, I'll be there.
And number 6 can be, thank you for the model.
What was that?
Number 5 can be just thank you for bringing the model. Because that's, it's kind of like public comment when the item isn't on the agenda.
I wouldn't even mention it.
Yeah, or we can just drop it. Okay, number 5. Although it was very helpful.
Yeah.
30% green.
It's like an extra time. Work with energy to design the brown and ones with food to next way, prepare to green to have these and dimension blocks. I also added to that, add the color call out for the trunk of the model line. I just want it to be done.
That's a 2-syllable word, I got it.
It's not an indigenous to Monterey.
Exactly.
Well, and I like the fact that he's one of the few people that calls Lompoc.
Yeah. So they get it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for
Adjourn.
I second it. Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I can't believe you guys made a religious reference to that pine tree.
Oh, I said a Christmas tree.
Oh, my goodness.
I did.
Well, the city now has a place to celebrate it.
Pineapple.
Bye, thank you.
It was not a religious